I heard AI nodes and AI node cells a bunch of times in the last month, but I didn't really understand what AI nodes are. So if you're in a situation, this video is for you because I did some research, I looked into it, and in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about them. Now, thinking back a few years ago, I did not imagine that AI is going to be as essential part of our life as it is now. Like if you think about it, either consciously or subconsciously, you use AI in some shape or form. If you use Siri, for example, on your phone, you already use some kind of AI model. But you can talk about ChatGPT, you can talk about an AI customer support that you don't even know is an AI customer support. But one thing is certain, AI completely revolutionizes the way we live and interact with each other and with our technology. There are two main areas where AI is basically revolutionizing the game. One is automation. A lot of tasks that are done by humans and monitors and whatnot could be automated by AI and using AI tech. And the second is optimization of processes. So a lot of processes that are actually not optimized right now could be easily optimized by using AI. This is where we see a lot of people losing their jobs to AI because it is just more efficient, more faster, more reliable in certain cases. One thing I didn't really think about is that as you run these AIs, or as the AI tech advances and the exponential growth happens as we see it right now, you need a lot of resources backing this technology. I'm talking about internet, fast internet, reliable internet. I'm talking about storage. I'm talking about tech in general that is required to run, train, and sustain these AI models. You might be thinking, sure, but these companies have massive budgets. They just buy up all the resources, whether it's storage or internet or whatever that might be, and the problem is solved. But if that was the only solution, I would not talk about it. As you know, I'm talking about blockchain and crypto in general. So the fact that we have a system that requires a lot of resources that would require companies to purchase these resources for a lot of money and then obviously do all the logistics behind could be solved by blockchain and decentralized technologies. You might be wondering, what is this guy even talking about? But this leads me to AI nodes. You see, as everybody seeks for the solution to these problems when it comes to AI and this lack of resources when it comes to AI nodes emerged. AI nodes leveraging the blockchain technology can provide solutions to many of these problems, whether it's automation, decision-making, data processing, privacy, security, storage, and many more. Now, the best part is, instead of a company using 3, 4, 5 suppliers to train their AI model and sustain it, now they can turn to the blockchain and use, for example, DePIN, Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. Leverage everyday people's phone and computers like yours and mine to actually get these resources they need: storage, internet, GPUs, CPUs. And the best part is, they not only get a faster, cheaper, and more secure network, but they also reward people who contribute their resources to these networks, like you and me. Very simply, to the core, AI nodes are different software applications that you can install on your devices, on your phone, or your computer, and run it for rewards. And there are a bunch of different nodes out there. You can have validator nodes, which secure a network. You can have storage nodes that help you store data, and much more. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But again, in simple terms, when you get your own node and you connect it to the network, you become part of a node of network that runs an AI system. Now, because AI nodes run through the blockchain, they offer a cheaper, faster, more reliable, more secure solutions than a centralized entity could. And by running any specific AI node, you fulfill a specific purpose within an AI network. For example, you can be a storage node. That means that you contribute with storage space in the network. Or you can be a validator node that actually analyzes all the data that came in and secures the network by doing so. For now, all you have to understand is that if you own an AI node, you basically own a part of that AI system and actually become an essential part of that AI system as well. Now, this whole thing might be still confusing, which it was for me, very difficult to understand. So here's an example. And think of Google as the company and think of their AI, Gemini. Now, Gemini is very simple. You can ask different questions, ask it to do different tasks, and as an AI model, it will do it for you. The question really is, how is Gemini getting all this information? Well, it gets the information fed through it by Google. That means that whatever information Google feeds this AI or this machine will take all its conclusions from the information it got. Now, that itself raises a lot of questions. What if Google, theoretically, of course, decides to push a very woke agenda? And whatever information you want to get, their AI will respond keeping this agenda in mind. Now, this is not science fiction. We have seen this before. So a decentralized AI would actually solve this. How? Couple of things. One is decentralized. That means that there is no one central entity that is able to control the information that is being fed to this AI. That means that if one entity or one data point or one node would decide they want to go woke, they would need to get the approval of all the other nodes on the network. 2, transparency. Honestly, nobody really knows how Google trains its AI. And now I'm putting this on Google, but it's true for any other AI model out there. By using a decentralized technology or the blockchain, we can see how many nodes got the information, where these nodes got the information from. We will see if there is discrepancy in the data. One node said something different than the other, and overall there is transparency happening, which we don't really see in any other existing model. Number 3 is security. How do you know that the questions you ask from Google are not stored somewhere and then sold for a third party? Oh, let's assume that we trust the people that we use the AI of, but what if their system gets hacked and as a central point of failure, your data gets stolen? Now again, going back to the blockchain and its decentralized nature, this cannot really happen. So it becomes much more safer and it becomes much more secure, much more reliable, and much more private. And number 4 is cost and speed, and they go hand in hand. A company the size of Google, if they would want to train their AI, they would need massive resources. I'm talking about a lot of internet, a lot of storage, and much more. All this computational power will need to come from somewhere. First of all, that will put a lot of logistics questions, that will put a lot of time and effort into creating these circumstances, and that eventually will be very expensive. But if you have a decentralized network with thousands or hundreds of thousands of nodes available for you to use immediately, that not only reduces the cost but also reduces the time it would take you to train an AI model. Now, the burning question might be, what do the people who run the nodes actually gain from running these nodes? Well, it's very simple. They do get rewarded. Just like a Bitcoin miner gets rewarded in Bitcoin for validating the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, an AI node gets rewarded by contributing resources to an AI network. And as I said, I'm going to talk about what different node types there are, but whatever task you complete, if you complete those tasks that are given to you, you will get a certain reward from the system automatically, because everything runs on a blockchain and everything is run through a smart contract. Now you get an understanding of why decentralization is important when it comes to AI. Now you understand that you will earn rewards by simply running these nodes, and you understand that there are a bunch of different nodes. Let me show you a step-by-step example. Now, there are a bunch of different AI nodes that each fulfill a specific purpose, even within the same project. I'll try to give an easily understandable example with Siri. You use Siri and you ask Siri a question. You might think that the answer that comes back runs through one single computer, but that's not actually the case. For example, there can be one node that captures your voice and translates that and transcribes that into text, so the system can process it further. That node's own responsibility is to capture voice, transcribe, put text out. Now that text can arrive to the second node, which responsibility is to analyze and comprehend what it really is about. Now, comprehending what your question really was is essential for it to be able to offer solutions. Now that information then can be passed on to node 3, which will eventually just look into the database and try to find a solution matching to your question, which was transcribed from a voice file. Now you see, only by asking a question and getting a reply, there are at least 3 nodes involved in creating that reply, and each node has their different purpose they fulfill in the system. But it also means that for each node to be able to run each node successfully, you will need different resources. And this is exactly why we have different node types, and this is exactly why you have to understand what kind of AI node you are about to get. Let me run through some of the main examples. One can be the worker nodes. Now they might not be called like this, but they might have different names and different terminology, but this is the basics. So one, there are worker nodes. And these nodes usually do the heavy lifting. They do data scraping, data analyzing, model training, interference, and all that heavy lifting that goes in. Now this obviously requires massive computational power and therefore very heavy tech resources. Then there are validator nodes, which doesn't require that much power and tech resources, but they are very essential part of the network. They do validate transactions and validate data. Imagine it like all the worker nodes actually throw a bunch of information together, and the validator matches these results and messages these answers from the worker nodes and verifies that everything is correct. If the validator node finds a couple of work nodes that do not match with the other results, they will flag them and just say that there is some kind of malicious activity or malfunction going on. Now, before I continue, I'd like to thank our sponsor Rivals Network for sponsoring this show, and they are an AI node that are just having their node sale on the 21st of November. Rivals is set out to solve 5 major challenges when it comes to AI: data, connectivity, identity, resources, and applications, or what they refer to as the 5 core modules. By focusing on these 5 areas, they will offer a widely adaptable and much more easier AI tech experience. And very simply, these nodes, after you install them, basically validate all the transactions and match the data from the work nodes as I explained previously. By doing so, you can earn RIS tokens, which is their native tokens in the system. And of course, as this network gets widely adopted, the more your tokens will be worth. The best part is that running these nodes do not require massive computational power, but can yield you great results. Now, later in the video, I'm going to talk about how important it is to go with AI nodes and AI projects that are backed with larger players. And Rivals is backed by many big names, Tyco, Manta Network, Gate.io. Also, they have secured $9 million in funding, so that's also quite telling. Now, I was very early in Helium, which is a Deepin project, and I make 7 figures from it because I believe in the project. If you do believe in the Rivals network, I do think this is a great opportunity. There's a link in the description. Make sure to check them out. We made a deal with them, so you have a 10% discount using the link below. What I know is that previously, when I've seen previous or very similar node sales, there will be 5 different buying opportunities at different valuations. Obviously, if you buy it early, you will get a much better price. You can sell them later as well. There will be 6,000 nodes sold at this price. By getting a node, you will unlock about 43,000 RIS tokens. You get 20% at TGE, which is the token generation event, and you get the rest unlocked in a 2-year period, which I personally like because that means that there is a running time for the project and it's not like all the tokens out of circulation immediately. Again, check them out. There's a link in the description. Let's get back to the video. Now, I was talking about different types of nodes. We talked about work nodes and we talk about the validator node, just like we have with Rivals, but you do have different nodes, for example, a storage node. Now, as you can guess, these nodes store information, store data, so it gets easily accessible for the other nodes to retrieve information and to take data out of. Then you can have coordinator nodes, which are responsible for coordinating the requests and the data that goes back and forth between the client and the AI model. That means that a task, for example, is evenly distributed. So by running a coordinator node, you are basically responsible for distribution and basically responsible for decentralization or assuring that there is decentralization. Then there are inference nodes, which are specifically designed to run predictions based on different data, for example, that is taken from a storage node. They handle much lighter information, so they take a lot of data that is already processed and they, based on that data, find patterns and make predictions into the future. Now, there are obviously a bunch of different nodes and a bunch of different use cases, but these are the ones that I think you should understand if you want to understand AI nodes in general. One thing is certain, that you need to focus on different characteristics based on the different resources you can contribute. Let's say you have an extremely fast internet. You might want to look at something that is connected to data scraping, for example, scraping social media, or just offering your unused internet bandwidth. Or maybe you have an unused server house and you can offer storage space. You might be considering running a storage node or contributing with your storage to any AI network. Or let's say that you have a very strong CPU or GPU that you simply don't use, or it's an unused resource that you have. You can offer that to an AI system for it to run very complex AI tasks on it. Sentiment analysis, pattern recognition, machine learning, all that kind of stuff would go into this category. And then the question comes, how can you get involved? Where it's quite simple. When you hear about an AI node, all you have to do is to go into their website and understand what type of node they are, so you can understand what type of resources you will need to contribute. In the case of Rivals, for example, as I said, you have 2 types of nodes. One is completely free to run. You can just contribute to your resources that you will be able to see on their website. It's called R client. Or you can get the Z nodes, which are the validators of the network and doesn't require that heavy resources to be contributed. And once you understand what resources you need to contribute and what you need to do in order to run these nodes successfully, you can move on to the next one, which will be how difficult it is to execute this. So for example, in the case of Rivals again, you just have to download the software and you just have to simply run that software in the background. That makes it super simple, super easy, but there might be some challenges running a different AI node that does, for example, heavy lifting, because there you have to ensure that you have a very great CPU, GPU, you have great storage capacity at all times and constant internet network connectivity. So you always have to understand if it's worth for you to actually run a certain node or not, and if it is, you have to understand what it really takes. Now, if you know all that, there's one more thing that I think is very important to note, especially because we're in crypto, and that is what kind of information does this software actually collect from me. So as you download any software, you have to understand if that software is actually legit, and you don't want to go into shady projects that are not backed by bigger names, that they didn't get any funding. So it's always good to go with the bigger projects and make sure that the software doesn't steal your data, doesn't collect data you don't want it to collect, or that you don't install any malicious malware or whatever on your computer. And this was it, my friends. If you have gotten any useful information, please let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, And for daily alpha, make sure to follow me on X. You can find a link in the description as well to my X account. It's Fefe. You can see it out here as well. Check out Rivals down in the description if you want a reliable and great AI project, if you want to deep dive into this, or if you want to get exposure to AI nodes. And other than that, enjoy your day. Truly appreciate you, and I believe I'll see you in the next one. Take care.